Welcome to the Stop Overdrinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 371, The Moderation Myth, When Your Brain Won't Let You See the Truth. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. How's everybody doing? How are we all doing? Today's episode is going to be potentially a little edgy for some of you, and it might make you feel something uncomfortable. And I want to invite you to lean into those feelings and thoughts that you might have as you're listening to this, because as a coach who helps women stop overdrinking, and I've been doing this in depth in multiple programs, private clients, group coaching programs, memberships, in-person retreats, I have seen the gamut and coached the gamut of people exploring their relationship with alcohol. And in any of my spaces, I like to invite you to come in and explore what relationship with alcohol is right for you. It is not I'm going to come in and figure out if I should quit or moderate. It's for you to really dive into your relationship with alcohol in a non-judgmental forum, right? In a non-judgmental space where you're allowed to explore that and really see what is the right path for yourself, right? Of course, I have thoughts and opinions on things because I've seen so many people go through this process, right? But the most powerful way for you to come to your own conclusion that will actually last is for you to see your own patterns and make conclusions on your own, right? With guidance, with really looking at the full picture. And when you do that, it becomes more of a permanent solution. So say you're coming in to work with me in some capacity and you are moderating, planning drinks, taking breaks. Maybe it's a month off, a dry January, a sober October, something like that. And in this space, you are evaluating what it feels like to drink with intention, what it feels like to not drink, and everything in between, right? And you really get to evaluate things. And sometimes when we're still drinking, we have, what I call distorted thinking. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that says that. But it's thinking that isn't 100% accurate. It's because you still are in the process of your alcohol addiction and your mind can tell you all sorts of things, right? We know that we have this. These are the thoughts like one won't hurt. One more won't hurt. It doesn't matter. I didn't really want to not drink today. I mean, all of these sort of like little lies and things that feel very believable in the moments that convince us that keeping drinking is a good situation, right? So I'm going to dive into some of this sort of disordered thinking that happens when you drink too much, specifically around moderation, because I think there's a lot of signs that we can recognize that moderation might not be the best path for us. And if you're willing to see that from the outside, like zoom out of your own relationship with alcohol and, maybe look at it as if you're looking at a friend or a family member, right? Look at your own relationship with alcohol as you're listening to this episode, as if you were observing a friend or a family member, okay? Just so that you can stay open. So a question to open this up is, how many times do you think that you need to try moderation before you admit to yourself that moderation isn't working? And I'm not asking you that question for it to feel harsh or like I'm trying to make you feel bad about yourself or anything. It's just a lot of times I recommend to my clients that they put a timeline on this, right? So it's different for everybody, but maybe it's a 6-month timeline where you're really going in and exploring your relationship with alcohol and you're trying all the things, you're getting coaching, you're doing the tools. And then at the end of that time, you will have a very clear understanding of what's going on and to decide what that looks like for yourself, right? So it's the same kind of question here. How many times do you think that you need to try moderation before you admit moderation isn't working, right? And I'm saying that here, listening to this podcast, because chances are you've already tried to cut back, right? Like you're working on cutting back. You've tried to cut back. Maybe it's been one time. Maybe it's 5 times. Maybe it's been every Monday for the last 10 years, right? Maybe you've tried, I'm only going to drink on the weekends. I'm going to do wine-free work week, only wine, right? So maybe you've been a hard liquor drinker and now you're like, okay, I'm only going to drink wine, or vice versa, right? Or I'm only going to have 2, or I'm only after 7 p.m., or only socially, or only when I'm not stressed. And then that slowly slides, right? Or it could even quickly slide. That might last a day. It might last 2 weeks. And you find yourself right back in the same place. You might be foggy and frustrated and finding yourself negotiating again, or saying, or doubling down. I just need to try harder. I just need to keep trying. I need to follow my drink plan, right? I need to just do this again. And I just want to talk about the thinking patterns that are keeping you stuck in this cycle, even when the outside evidence might be really screaming at you. And some of you already know that moderation doesn't work for you and you're attempting to be alcohol free in your life. And maybe some of you just don't want to admit it yet. Okay, so we're going to dig into why this could be happening. And disordered is just, it can sound like a negative word or an insult, but really I'm talking about thoughts and your own thinking that are consistently pulling you away from real things, from your own reality. So this type of thinking that protects the drinking instead of protecting you. I'm going to say that again. This type of thinking that protects the drinking instead of protecting you. And it's when you keep running the same experiment and expecting a different result. We've heard that so often, right? What is crazy? When you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And I actually read this online recently, but it was like, if you've tried to pet a dog 20 times and it bit you every time, you wouldn't say, I just need better petting rules, or I'm going to try this again, right? You would say, okay, this dog bites, and you would stop petting the dog. But when we look at alcohol, it's so muddy, it's so soft, right? We think it was the setting, it was the stress, it was the wrong type of alcohol, it was the wrong day, right? Or we blame it on external circumstances, like I'm so stressed out in my life right now. If it wasn't this way, it would be different, right? So we keep adjusting our circumstances or putting the blame on the circumstances instead of questioning the substance, okay? This is not optimism. Right? That's just your brain protecting access to alcohol versus protecting you, right? So I want to talk about some patterns that might be keeping you stuck and how you can recognize this. And these are the most common ones. And I know that you will recognize some of these patterns very clearly. So just listen and notice to see which one feels familiar. I don't want you to shame yourself. There is nothing to be ashamed about here. Alcohol makes us think crazy shit. Right? Not only does it makes us have thoughts that protect keeping alcohol in your life versus protecting yourself, it amplifies other negative thinking in your life, right? So like how you think about yourself after you're drinking. What do you think about problems at work? Other things going on in your life. Like it amplifies so much negative thinking, right? So just listen and notice here. We're not shaming ourselves. I just want to help you see this clearly so that you can get on with it, right? So that you can get to the place where you need to be. So number one pattern is like this idea of a moving goalpost, right? And I'm using my hands. I'm like, I've got a goal, like a soccer goal or football goal in my hand, and I'm moving it side to side, right? This is when the rules keep changing. I'm only going to drink on weekends. Okay. And you recognize that that doesn't work. Okay. Or I only have 2 and you plan for 2 and you're constantly going over your plan. That doesn't work. I'm going to switch to wine instead of hard alcohol. Okay. You recognize now you're over drinking wine and vice versa. Or I won't drink at home. Okay. And then we end up buying alcohol for home consumption, right? The goal keeps moving because the real goal isn't moderation here. The real goal is holding on to alcohol. You're gripping and holding on to alcohol so that you don't have to give that up, right? You've rewritten your drink plan 10 times. You've tried different variations of it. The plan isn't the problem. Okay, so just wanted to talk about that. That was the moving goalpost. Another one is the exception clause. It's only a problem when, fill in the blank. It's only a problem when I'm stressed. It's only a problem when I'm tired. It's only a problem when I've had a hard day at work. Fill in the blank, right? It's only a problem when I'm out. It's only a problem when I drink liquor. It's only a problem when I am with certain people. And we create these little tiny definitions of this problem so we can preserve drinking in every other situation. Okay? That's the exception clause. It's only a problem when. A third is this idea of I should be able to moderate. It's like this capability fantasy. I should be able to. Other people can. I'm smart. I'm successful, right? I'm disciplined in other areas. So you believe you should be able to. But this isn't about what you should be able to. It's about what your actual track record says, right? Not who you wish you were with alcohol, who you actually are. Okay. So if we look at the past 5 years and you're trying to hold on to alcohol, right? And you're trying to make drink plans, or you say you're going to make a drink plan, you say you're going to try these moderation attempts, but you don't, that might be the answer for you. Okay. The other one that I've actually recently heard of referred to is this idea called alcohol amnesia. And I've never called it this before or like really referred to it this, but it's just really when you forget what it does to you, right? It's just when you forget what it does to you and you negotiate with yourself. So maybe you had a really bad overdrink, and then that overdrink made you not want to drink for a few days, right? And then you start feeling better again. And then here comes the amnesia, right? You don't remember and you say, forget it, right? You forget about how you felt, the anxiety, the shame, the physical feelings of that overdrink, right? The text maybe you shouldn't haven't said, the words you shouldn't have said. You forget how you wake up hating yourself. And as you start to feel better after that, your brain softens that memory, right? So you'll try again. And it's not just weakness, that's just what happens, right? That's just the brain chemistry. But if you don't interrupt it, you will keep looping back there. Okay, so that can sound like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or just one drink won't hurt, right? Like when you're in those throes of the chatter or the urges and you're not remembering, oh, it's not that bad. I don't have to work tomorrow. Make sense? I don't have to get up early tomorrow. This is like you are literally forgetting how shitty you felt last time. All right, number 5 is just one more try. And this one feels really hopeful. It can actually even feel motivating. I've learned now. This time will be different. I have so much more awareness. I'm going to be more careful. I have a better system. I'm in a support group. Okay, but if your attempts are like 3 days, a week, 5 days, 2 weeks, 4 days, right? That's really not a learning curve. Okay, that's data. That's a pattern. And at some point, continuing to try isn't perseverance, right? It's this delusional thinking that this is going to be different next time. Right? Look at how long you've been trying. Just go look at the data. How long have you been trying to keep alcohol in your life? Really trying, right? That should be your answer. You don't have to keep going with the cycle again. And so the real question that you might be avoiding here, if all of these patterns protect you from this very uncomfortable question, right? What if I just can't drink like a normal person? What if I have to give up alcohol? Not what if I try harder? Not what if I find the right rule? But what if this is just how I am with alcohol? And continuing to negotiate that is costing me more than quitting ever would, right? Like we are trying all these different things to hold on to this thing that is not serving you, right? So the question becomes this: when is it time to stop trying to moderate? And here's some honest indications. If you've tried moderation 5+ times and it ends the same every time, Okay. Or if you've had real consequences, health, legal, relational issues, right? And you're still planning the next controlled attempt. If you have had relatives or family members tell you that your drinking has caused harm, that is a huge real consequence. If you've had health issues, a lot of people are getting their blood work done and looking at their liver enzymes, and or maybe they've hurt themselves, fallen, something like that. That's a real consequence, right? Or legal troubles. Have you gotten a DUI? Have you gotten in trouble some way with regards to your drinking? Okay. Another thing to look at, if you spend more time managing drinking than enjoying it, how often are you thinking about drinking? How often are you thinking about your plan? How often are you worried about? How often are you spending time the next day after an overdrink, managing how you're thinking and processing that? And then also this last one, you're more afraid of quitting alcohol than you are of the consequences it will continue to bring you. That should be a huge indicator of your attachment to alcohol. If it's that big, that's a problem. It's a problem. Okay. If never drinking again feels scarier than another fight, another blackout, another health warning, that is real big information, my friends. But you have to be honest with yourself with this episode. You have to stop and really tell yourself the truth. Okay, because I promise you, not drinking isn't a death sentence. I am a living example of a fully alive AF life. My life is 1,000 times better. If you could taste what this feels like, you would just drop it all together. I promise. So if you have been struggling with keeping alcohol in your life and you feel really attached to it, and you've been having thoughts that aren't leading to a place that supports yourself, but supports keeping alcohol, that is something to pay attention to. Acceptance doesn't have to be this big thing like right now. Like if you recognize yes, yes, yes to everything I'm saying, and you recognize, yep, I see my attachment to alcohol. I recognize that this is not working for me. It doesn't have to be this huge, dramatic thing. Okay. You could just be a very soft, I've been trying moderation many times. It's not working for me. I don't love what I'm hearing. I don't love that this is where I am, but the evidence is clear. Okay. And this is actually important for you to hear. Sometimes not drinking can feel easier than this moderation thing. You don't have to think about it so much. No more negotiation, no more counting, no more rules, no more maybe tonight. It's done, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have slip-ups. But coming to that conclusion for yourself is very, very important, right? Of course, I can help guide you there. Of course, I can help you look at your thoughts and look at your patterns and help you dissect this. And I love doing that, right? I love helping you see what is not working for you anymore. And for you to get clarity that way so that you can make the best decision. And sometimes this can be so muddied and so intertwined in our head that you might need somebody to help you do that. Okay. And if you're not ready to make that conclusion for yourself right now, that's okay. Maybe you still want to try again, right? So let's do this. Before your next moderation attempt, write down how many times have I tried this before? What were my results? And what will actually be different this time? And then put a date on it. Okay? Because if it fails again, right, based on history, it probably will. You deserve to see that pattern clearly. Not to shame yourself, but to call yourself out and to recognize that you know what the truth is. And sometimes your mind can get muddled up enough to not help you see that in the best way. Okay? Your brain is not neutral when it comes to alcohol. It will negotiate, it will minimize, it will distort, it will rationalize. Okay? This is not something that's wrong with you. This is just how addiction works. This is what happens when you overdrink on the regular. But you can outgrow this negotiation if you're willing to tell yourself the truth by looking at these patterns that I just shared with you on this episode. If you look at how long you've been trying to do this, maybe you need to get some coaching, maybe you need to get some private support to really dig into this, right? But you can stop running the same experiment. Okay. The question shouldn't be, can I moderate? Okay. The question is, do I want to spend the rest of my life trying, or do I want actual freedom? Okay. And some of you already know the answer to that. So it's just getting brave enough to say it out loud and to recognize it. All right, my friends, I am here if you want to dive into this on a more personal level. I'm going to link up a site that you can explore working with me on a private level, or potentially coming to a Magic House retreat. That would be a beautiful way for you to get away from alcohol for a week and really explore what's underneath this and get some clarity around what is next for you after that, because we don't drink on Magic House retreats. You don't have to worry about anything else. Everything is taken care of you from the time you get there until the time you leave. You're not planning and driving around and working and trying to find food and all of that stuff. Like, all of that is taken care of you, so you can really get to the source of your truth and let the magic of you come out. And sometimes we can see what the answer is a little bit more clear when we get away from our everyday to day life and take a break and really focus on this. So I have 3 spots left for the May retreat in Lisbon, Portugal at the Magic House. They're in shared rooms. So there's one room fully open for 2 spots, and then one bed in a shared room available. And then they're pretty much sold out after that. So I'm going to put the link for the Magic House retreat in the show notes as well. If you want to talk to me about a Magic House retreat or private coaching, I'm going to put that link in the show notes as well. And we can explore what either one or both of those looks like. And you can do this. All right. It's not scary to leave alcohol in your past. I promise. That's sometimes the hardest thing that you will face is making that decision. Isn't that cool? Like, that's the hardest obstacle that you will find yourself in, is actually making that decision. And then after that, it's nothing but onwards and upwards, I promise. All right, my friends, I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you soon.